So in this segment, we're going to be teaching little bro how to actually understand numbers because he doesn't. So this guy here, Shadow Treasury Secretary Gareth Davies, arguing Rachel Reeves inherited a brilliant economy, and him being called out on it. So let's have a listen.
Let's be clear about this. She inherited the fastest economy in the G7.
So that's based on percentage growth, which we talked about as nonsense. We've got Labour pushing the same nonsense in terms of talking about being the fastest growing economy in the G7. So it's not just the Conservatives, but it's based on percentage growth, based on eternal stagnation. So that's not something I would really crow about because of the fact that it's not worth anything.
2% inflation.
Now, Lil Bro, I'm going to ask you, right? This is from the ONS, right? When was it 2%? So the lowest it dipped to was 2.6%. That was in September of 2024. When we look at during the election, 2.8%. And it was higher. The lowest you got is 2.8, and then it goes up to 3.1 during the election. The last time it was around 2% was around July 2021. So clearly, this guy here is not very bright, or can't read numbers. So I'm struggling a bit here how this guy is Shadow Treasury Secretary. Then again, we did have Laura Trott who couldn't understand percentages. So I guess private education doesn't buy you much in the time they went to school.
Debt was, under control.
Our debt to GDP ratio was about 100% under the Tories. That was predominantly down to COVID borrowing, but it was very much in the high 90s. So again, debt was not under control.
We had 800 jobs created over the last government. And so it's not true to say that she inherited this terrible situation. She actually made it worse. The budget last autumn, the OBR were very clear. It would be inflationary, it would downgrade growth, it would increase debt, and now we're seeing the reaction of markets to it. Yes, there are global factors driving markets and borrowing costs around the world, but the UK seems to find itself in a particularly exposed position where investors are voting with their feet.
I think it's predominantly down to the UK having a lot of foreign-owned debt, combined with the US offering even more higher interest rates now again. And also, I think there is a lack of confidence in Rachel Reeves, and to be fair, I don't have a lot of confidence in Rachel Reeves. So,
and she needs to urgently get a grip of this and make sure that she can calm nerves. I understand she's coming to the House today under the guise of an update on her visit to China, but let's be clear what this is about. This is about her having to come out to calm markets, calm nerves, because it's clearly very troubling out there.
I mean, I must say I find it tedious when the government continues to talk about the economic inheritance when we're now 7 or 8 months into their time.
The Tories did it for 15 years, pal. I don't remember you calling them out on that. David Cameron dined on that during 2 elections.
I think it's even more rich to come here and suggest the economic inheritance was strong. I mean, yes, the economy was the fastest in the G7 based on the prior 2 quarters. For the first time in probably your entire time in office, it was not the fastest growing in the G7. In fact, lagged pretty extensively the US throughout the entire 14 years. So it's an interesting framing. And on the tax burden, it was the highest since World War II. And on the debt level, which you said was under control, was the highest on record, ticking up to 122% of...
Oh, shit, I didn't realise it went that high. Jesus Christ, 122% GDP. I thought it just peaked over 100. But no, I was wrong. That's near France levels.
Of GDP. So I just have to push back on this. Do you accept, all factors considered, that the economic inheritance was not good?
It was a lot better than it is today, but I've always been clear on this show and many others that we had a really tough time with a...
No, you didn't. You just kind of gassed. You made up a load of stuff, and then now you've been called out and it's like, oh, it was really tough, the situation we had. It's like, okay, that was recent. The COVID problem was recent. So couldn't Labour make the argument that, oh, the problem we inherited was really bad? Because it is.
Global pandemic and the war in Ukraine, which pushed up wholesale gas prices, which meant that we had to step in. Of course, we had to, step in with additional support for families and businesses. That pushed up debt, yes, and then we had to pay that down, and that meant raising some taxes. Of course, it did.
So again, it doesn't sound so great, does it? The situation they inherited. And there's another video of another Tory, I think it's the same dude actually, being called out again over this stuff.
She's gone. I mean, doesn't that just show that having an independent assessment of ministerial standards is working? Priti Patel, who Douglas Alexander is referring to, was sitting there on the front bench next to Kemi Badenoch, was actually found to have breached the ministerial code in the past, but Boris Johnson decided that was all right and he'd keep her.
Well, it's the Labour playbook to try and talk about everybody else other than themselves. They have to take responsibility for what's actually happening now. And in just 6 months, they've lost a Transport Secretary, a Downing Street Chief of Staff, and now a Treasury Minister, all because of scandals. I think, you know, they need to start taking responsibility for themselves.
The two ministers in question take responsibility. I'd rather struggle to remember the scandal in relation to Sue Gray. Do you want to share?
But I have to say...
Oh, the scandal in Sue Gray was people didn't like the fact that she was paid more than the Prime Minister and used that to attack her with. That was the scandal. The fact that someone leaked her financial information and caused massive amounts of resentment within the party, within Downing Street. That was the scandal, mate. I don't know... you know, why that seems to be so hard to understand, especially given that, you know, this is your job to actually know these things. You know, I do this part-time, so it's a bit...
Hey, there's a
what was it? You've just made
here.
that allegation. What was the scandal?
Well, you
said
tell
all
me.
three.
I don't know. Why
There
did she
wasn't
go?
one.
Why
Oh my god, these fucking idiots. Imagine you're swinging and missing here because you don't know basic facts. Basic facts that her salary was leaked and there was jealousy in the office. Come on, bro.
did she go?
This is what we've seen for the
Clearly
last
wasn't
half
that
hour.
bad enough because she ended up in the House of Lords. So maybe it wasn't.
Oh.
But I think there's a
Please
pattern.
don't just make things...
This guy's pathetic. I could do his job better than him. He can't even attack them properly. It's a target-rich environment and he keeps missing. Jesus Christ, man. This guy, like, the fact that he's in the shadow cabinet is an embarrassment, to be honest with you. Back-to-back bad interviews is crazy. Like, just the fact they put this guy up for interviews is nuts. Like, definitely wouldn't be on my team, that's for sure. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.